history of the American West, from Wild Bill Hickok and Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer to Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse. And it's images of red men in white that first come to mind when people think about this state. But black men and women also carved a life for themselves in this vast, beautiful, often harsh land of the Northern Plains. Yet there's no mention of them in South Dakota history books, while most South Dakotans and visitors are amazed when they find that blacks were some of the earliest settlers in the state. One African American woman is trying to change people's level of knowledge by touring the region and telling the story of the role her people played in this immense territory once known only as Dakota. Her name is Joyce Jefferson. Welcome her as she brings to you Black Hills Sheroes.
Everybody talking about heaven ain't going there, heaven, heaven. I'm gonna walk all over God's heaven. Howdy. How y'all doing this day? My name is Sarah Campbell, but everybody call me Aunt Sally. I was the first white woman to see these here Black Hills. You hear me now? Done walked all over these here Black Hills in these here black shoes. You hear me now? Now, I did hear some cackling. And some of y'all's done got a befuddled look on y'all's faces, and others of y'all just look bemused. Well, I'll tell you what I means when I says I was the first white woman to see these here Black Hills, because I bet you notice my coloration is of a darker hue. Well, I was up and down the Missouri ever since its muddy waters was broke by a steamboat. I accumulated quite a little property and settled in Bismarck to ease and luxury. Money didn't done bring this child out here, I tells you that. This ain't no common Negro. I's got done working for money, I have. Now, you wouldn't catch this here gal toting Chuck out here now, I tells you. Now, if it hadn't been for Custer that fetched us through these here Black Hills, I'd still be up in Bismarck enjoying that ease and luxury. Now I'm talking. When I was in the Missouri, cooked on the first boat that ever run up that there stream, and I ain't had no hard luck neither. Now you just bet I ain't. But I wanted to see the Black Hills. But there ain't no blacker than I is. Now, truly enough, when we was coming down from Fort Abe and we cast our eyes up on them there Black Hills, the way the sun shine on them, sometimes the sun glisten, and they truly did look black. And I wanted to see these here Black Hills for myself. But they ain't no blacker than I is, and I'm no African. Now, you just bet I ain't. I'm none of your common herd. I's got white blood in me, I have, and I got the money to back it. Yes, I have. I vanquished with the vanguard of civilization on the Custer expedition of 1874. Everybody talking about heaven ain't going there, heaven, heaven. I'm gonna walk all over God's heaven. Now, I was hankering to see these here Black Hills. And then come to find out, General Custer done got a commission to survey these here Black Hills. Then I found out he done already had a cook, Nancy Mux Johnson. So I had to figure out another way to get on this here expedition because I was going to see these here Black Hills. I heard about these here hills from the time that I was a little girl and my mama was teaching me how to cook. Then I found out that Captain John Smith was going to be the sutler on this here expedition. Now, him and General Custer, they go back to the war to free the slaves. They was just like this, 2 peas in a pod. He was going to be the sutler. Captain or General Custer signed him up, and then I signed on to be his cook. Now, all Captain Smith had to do was tend to his 10 teamsters and make sure that all of the troopers had victuals when they run out. Now, General Custer started out on the expedition, and you know he always liked to be out front, riding out and back and out and back and out and back. There must have been about 1,000 men and just as many horses and 100 Indian scouts and a whole bunch of other kind of people, because this was an expedition to end all expeditions. They had geologists, newspaper writers. They even had a photographer. And do you know what they did? My day was awful light. All I had to do was fix box lunches for Captain Smith, his 10 teamsters, and myself, roused up a little breakfast, and then the rest of the day was mine. And we found it. Yes, we did. We found gold. Yes, we did. We was on French Creek, and there it was. Little flakes of gold just looked like they was growing out the grass roots. And I was there. And everybody made their claim, and mine was 7 below discovery. Yes, Lord. Now, this was the most beautiful place that I ever done seen. Now, when the troopers was riding their horses, the grass must have been all the way up to their horses' bellies. And Lord have mercy, as they was riding along, the troopers started picking and a-platting and picking and a-platting and picking and a-platting. And before they knowed it, well, they made wreaths for their horses. Well, they weren't gonna be outdone. So they was picking and a-platting and picking and a-platting and picking and a-platting again. And then they made nosegays for their troopers' hats. Yes, they did. Now, I could talk about gold from morning to noon, all the way into nightfall, but it ain't the money which brought us here to the Black Hills. And I'm gonna come back just as soon as anybody. Now, it took us 2 months to survey these here Black Hills, and then going back up to Fort Abraham Lincoln. And it was 2 years later that the Black Hills opened up to the gold rush. Now, Aunt Lou done found out about the gold rush, and she done come up here herself. Now, everybody talking about heaven ain't going there, heaven. Heaven, I'm gonna walk all over God's heaven. Now, when Aunt Lou come, they was always writing about her in the newspaper, just like they did about me. So, I'm gonna let y'all listen to what Aunt Lou have to say. I've been working, praying, slaving every day, saving. I'm just tired, but thank God I'm not dead. I keep hoping, waiting, praying times are gonna start a-changing. I'm just tired, but thank God I'm not dead. Born down in Overton, Turkey Creek, Tennessee, I learned to cook on my sweet mama's knee. I worked all my life Trained up to serve other people, Daddy taught me to pray, save, and live free. Yes, I'm working, praying, slaving every day, saving. I'm just tired, but thank God I'm not dead. Well, Aunt Sally's right. They's always writing about me in the newspaper. But you can't believe everything you read in the newspaper. So I'm going to tell you something about Aunt Lou, what you can't read in the newspaper. Well, my given name is Lucretia, which they tells me means succeed, profit, and wealth. Now, I was born a slave March 25th, long before the war to free the slaves. I was emancipated from my enslavement by the President, Master Abraham Lincoln, and I was given life, liberty, and the suit of happiness by the Constitution. I was watched over and protected by my Lord and Savior, and I was blessed, almighty good. Well, I guess I did live up to my name, Lucretia. Profit, succeed, and wealth, because I think I did all right for myself. Now, my daddy and my master, well, they was brothers, and I'll let y'all ponder on that for a minute. Now, my master was William Martin Marchbanks, who gave me my family name of Marchbanks. I was the eldest of 11 children, and my daddy brought his freedom from his brother, my master and uncle, by practicing rigid economy and saved up $700 for his freedom. Now, out west, when people hear about my heritage, they ask me, Aunt Lou, you got any white blood in you? And I tell them, no, honey, all I ever seen was red. Well, I guess I must have been around 18, and Miss Ann must have been around 16, 17. We growed up together. We was cousins. And then Master William give me to his daughter, Miss Ann, for a wedding present. Now, her husband, Mr. Martin, he wanted to go west to the land of gold, fortune, and romance. Well, they didn't find no gold, and fortune escaped them. And one would think that they must have found romance because I was taking care of their 6 children. But you know, when you have a farm, because he fell back on what he knowed, you need lots of hands, lots of children to help you maintain that farm. Well, President Lincoln emancipated me from my enslavement, and I decided I was going to find my own family. So it was Pikes Peaks or bust for Aunt Lou. And I found my sister, Martha Ann, we calls her Maddie, and my brothers, Burr and Finley, we calls them Burr and Finley. And I stayed there for a while, working with my sister Maddie, and then come to find out, Sarah Campbell done found gold in the Black Hills, and it was deadwood or bust for old Aunt Lou. Yes, it was, so I come on up here. And Deadwood was a bustling mining camp, and I found employment right away because I was dependable. I was trained in the culinary arts and housekeeping, so that meant that I could keep a tidy table, keep a nice house, and I could cook good. Now, I was stowed away several times from one hotel owner by another. because I was dependable and everybody knowed it. Now, the Lord, I told you, he blessed me. He blessed me mightily. Now, there was this here man named William Williamson. He was a prospector down on his luck, but he done had some of my mince pie a while back when he could afford it. This time he come to me and he said, Aunt Lou, all I want is just another morsel of your mince pie, and I will give you anything you want as soon as I am able. Well, I was a pretty good judge of character, so I made him the mince pie. And I tell you, Mr. Williamson is a man of his words. I saw this here dress in a catalog, say it come from Paris, France. And Mr. Williamson is a man of his words. Now, ain't this the prettiest thing you done ever seen? Well, the last time I was told, my last employer was at the Father de Smet boarding house. Now, at the Father de Smet boarding house, the men's, well, they were supervisors in the mill and superintendents in the mine. They was big men, big, important men. But they made me superintendent of the Father de Smet boarding house. And every time any one of those important men walk across the threshold of the Father de Smet boarding house, they was but a meek and ordinary mortal, because I was the superintendent, and I let them know it. Well, there was so much chaos at the Father de Smet boarding house that I decided I'd take the money that I had saved. My daddy, he done taught me how to save money, and I would open up my own hotel. I called it the Rustic Inn. And it was at the mouth of Salt Pit Gulch. Now, newspaper man, he come and he seed me, and he told me, well, he didn't tell me, he wrote in the newspaper, that I looked 20 years younger than when I left the de Smet household. Well, I guess so. Didn't have to worry about no chaos. Well, I got tired of cleaning and cooking for other folks, so I decided I would sell my interest to the Rustic Hotel to my sister Maddie, and I would buy me a place over in Wyoming. I got this little place right here in Rocky Ford. Friends visit me, and I give them board. I tend to my stock, I harvest my crop. Yes, I'm tired, but thank God I'm not dead. They say they're writing about me again in the newspapers. They says I was dead. Does I look dead to you?
The Republican reports Louisa Marshman, Aunt Lou, died recently on her ranch in Beulah, on Sand Creek, Wyoming.
Didn't I tell you? You just can't believe everything you read in the newspaper. First they say my name is Louisa Marshman. Didn't I tell you my name was Lucretia Marchbanks? And then he said died recently. Can't even give a date. So how true can that be, died recently? On her ranch in Beulah, well, I lives in Rocky Ford. I told you, you just can't believe everything you read in the newspapers. Well, it is time for old Aunt Lou to get up and get to her business. Do you know that I had 80 acres that I have to attend to? And Lord have mercy, I am just so tired. And they got to tell them people at that Black Hills Daily Times that what they reported in the Republican is not true. I is in excellent health, but just awful tired. Yes, I'm tired, but thank God I'm not dead. Well, Mary Kercheval, she done come here, and she done homesteaded on Centennial Prairie. Now, that's the land you sitting on right now. She had children, which was Simpsons and Kerchevals. And she come join her children after the war to free the slaves. Now, I'll let Mary Kercheval tell you all about herself. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Nobody knows my sorrow. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Glory, hallelujah. Now, you know, the Lord likes to play tricks on you every now and then. And the trick that he played on me, I hope you see the humor in it. I was working for General George Armstrong Custer right after the war to free the slaves. Then he got a commission to go to Kentucky and fight the Ku Klux Klan. Well, I knowed about them there cluckers, and I didn't want to do nothing more with them cluckers, because I seen what they done after the war. So I terminated my employment with him, and I stayed there at Leavenworth, where I bought a house with my sisters, a cousin, and a family friend. Now here I am on Centennial Prairie in the twilight of my years, and they say the cluckers are coming here again. Lord have mercy. Now, if you don't see the humor in that, well, you just gotta laugh. Well, I first recollected my life in western Missouri, where we was on this tobacco farm. And then there was this here family Bible that had my name, all my children's name, and the rest of the owners' chattel, just like we was property to keep track of, like horses and cows and chickens. And you know the good Lord, he did not have a mind for us to be somebody else's property. And I knowed something better was coming along. Well, let me take you back to the Bible and tell you about my children's. I had 4 Simpson children. My first son was Levi, but his given name was July, and he was born October the 11th in 1852. Now, Benjamin was born October the 8th, 1853, and my daughter, Elvira, was born October 14th, 1854. There was this huge fire that upset all of western Missouri in 1855, and my birth in October. The next children I had was Kerchevals. I had Samuel, who was born July 5th, 1858, and Belle, who was born September 10th, 1860, and my baby boy Charlie was born January 5th, 1863. I forgot one of my Simpson girls. That was Luann. She was born December 23rd, 1856, and I call her my Christmas present. Now, since Missouri was a slave state, we was all freed after the war to free the slaves. My girls Elvira and Luann got married and stayed around Missouri and Kansas after they was freed. My oldest boy, Samuel, come out in 1876, same time. Ain't Sally, ain't Lou. Come out here right after the gold rush. Well, Samuel, he worked as a farm laborer. Then my Simpson boys, Benjamin and Levi, come out and found a place to homestead on Centennial Prairie. And 7 years later, I left Leavenworth, where I had property. I thought I'd join my families in the Dakotas. Me and my baby boy, Charlie, moved on the land Samuel bought just south of Ben and Levi's places. 4 years later, I received a patent on my land. And the year I received my patent, I went right back to Kansas to sell the house I owned with my sisters in Leavenworth. I purchased my own farm out here on Centennial Prairie for $150 in 1892 and received a patent on it just 10 months later. It was signed by President Benjamin Harrison. I deeded it to my boy Charlie in 1895 and filed on a nearby piece of property in 1904. Now, before I got up here, my boy Levi worked as a bullwhacker for a time, transporting goods from Deadwood in the southern hills and up here in Spearfish, is working his farm here on Centennial Prairie. Now, in November of '79, Levi was arrested for assaulting a white man with the intent to kill. Now, he told the sheriff that the man had been bothering this here white woman, and Levi was just defending the woman's good graces from the white man's unwanted attentions. Levi offered to plead guilty because he freely admitted to wanting to kill the man in question. However, the sheriff talked Levi into pleading not guilty. Well, the case was scheduled several times, but it never made it to court. Now, come to find out, this here other man, Mr. Dunfree, was homesteading land adjacent to Ben and Levi's, and he tried to jump his land. Well, my boys just wouldn't have that. That old Mr. Dunfree and my boy Levi told quite different versions of the same story when they got to court. And the court believed my son because his held water, and his was more convincing, and he was known to tell the truth. I taught all my children, ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Now, probably my proudest moment was when my son Benjamin celebrated Emancipation Day, August the 1st. He had everything all set up. Well, he did have a committee to work with him, but I like to believe he did most of the work because he was my son. There was dances, there was lots of food, and it must have lasted all day long. My boy, Samuel, he read the Emancipation Proclamation from beginning to end. Lord, I could have popped all the buttons on my dress. Now here I am in the twilight of my life, done sold all my property. Sometimes I stay with my daughter, Belle, down in Lead, and other times I stay right here on Centennial Prairie with my son, Samuel. And I just love sitting here in my rocking chair. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Nobody knows my sorrow. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Glory, hallelujah. Well, I would like to introduce you to the little lady who brought us here. Her name is Joyce Jefferson. We've come this far by faith, leaning on the Lord, trusting in His holy word. He's never failed us yet. Can't turn around. We've come this far by faith. Joyce Jefferson, Sarah Campbell, Lucretia Marchbanks, and Mary Kercheval. Thank you. And when I have my wits about me, I will say I walked in Sarah Campbell's shoes, I dressed in Aunt Lou's clothes, and I reminisced with Aunt Mary. And it made me the woman that I am today, so that I could have a career telling the story of African Americans who lived before me, upon whose shoulders I stand, so that their lives will be noticed.